Welcome to the Fit Dad Club podcast. My name is Travis Jones, and I'm here with two people today. I'm here with Jason Barrett and CJ Flood, and we're going to talk about CJ's journey with the Fit Dad Club and basically give you an insight to what coaching is from the other side of things, but also you're going to get a great bunch of insights from CJ's journey on how he's transformed his life. And I'll let you know a couple of just high level stats right now. CJ's lost 40 kilos. He's changed his life, would be a bit of an understatement. And you can hear how he changed his life to then also give you one. Sometimes there's hope for anyone as far as you wanting to change your life also, because sometimes we think to ourselves, oh, I can't do this, or, it's not good enough for me, or yeah, it's not going to happen for me. Exactly, mate. And I think, with this, it gives you an insight to someone that's like, just like you, and you can do it too. And I think that's the biggest thing I want you to get away from this. If not, just be fucking motivated to go for a run. I don't care. Either way. So CJ, I'll first welcome you, mate. Welcome to the show, CJ. How you doing, buddy?
Cheers, mate. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I love getting the chance to hang out with you and Jace. And it's been super cool to be watching you guys dropping knowledge and insight, for quite a while now. And I'm super excited to hopefully impart some of that and share some of my journey and my story to hopefully everyone kind of watching and listening can, have that little aha moment that I had, myself.
If anything, mate, you'll definitely be trolled on YouTube for something. Don't worry.
Oh, mate, I'm sure of it.
And Jay, yeah, exactly. And Jace, how you doing today, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's been very cold over here in Perth in the last couple of weeks. I say that to Tasmanians, so I'm not gonna talk on it too much. But no, everything's been going super well. Training's feeling good. Everything's feeling good. But I'm really keen to hear this story and also help be a part of CJ sharing his story, because you can listen to people who are personal trainers and nutritionists and people who are sort of quote unquote in the industry for a long time, and it's like, oh yeah, well yeah, you guys know all this stuff already, and you did all this training. I was like, oh fuck that, none of that stuff actually prepares you. I know plenty of personal trainers who don't train hard. I know plenty of nutritionists who eat like shit, right? Like it doesn't actually matter. But hopefully hearing it from someone who that hasn't necessarily come from that background, who's come in as a client and just been like, yeah, you know what, I want to change my life. These are the things that sort of were the aha moments for me, will hopefully set the spark in you guys, as CJ said.
Awesome. So, mate, coming back to that, CJ, let's recap where you were before you started coaching. Basically, where you were with your weight, where you were with your headspace as well. So, just give us all a bit of a recap.
So I started coaching, back in September 21, and where I was at my wit's end. I had been, since my second ACL reconstruction back in 2015, so like 6.5, 7 years deep, I'd just been on this negative spiral of momentum. Things were getting worse. Pain was getting worse, gaining more weight. Couldn't move, this hurt, that hurt. It was next thing after the next thing. And it wasn't, it wasn't for lack of trying, man. Like, there's probably a good 12 or 15 different things and diets and workouts and this and that I tried. I went to physios, I went here and there, and, I spent literally tens of thousands of dollars to try and solve this problem that I was facing. So it's not like I was just kind of coasting. And then the birth of my second son, kind of right in that, middle of 2019 area there. And I was like, I really just kind of got to the point where it was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to find anything. I don't know if I'm ever going to, get back to what I was or anything like that. So I'd really kind of lost hope, after that and just really struggled. And I was like, well, I'm not going to focus on my health. I'm just going to focus on being a dad, because at least I can control that. And then, the first kind of like few months of 2021, I was talking to my dad, who's in his 60s, who has worked a physical job his entire life and, was still out in working in construction and doing hard things. And I was just like, oh, this poor bugger, he's up in the heat of North Queensland and he's just busting his ass. And he never did it for anything other than to be there for his family, and even continue to do so, to this day. And then I was talking with my mum, and she was like, "Hey, like, I need you to come down and visit me because I've got to go and have a brain aneurysm removed. I've got to have brain surgery." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And that conversation, which was, she's in her early 60s, and that was a place of like, okay, wow, like, okay, I've got my dad who is physically, just copped a beating his entire life and is really starting to feel the effects of that. And then two, my mum, who's, really starting to have some other health stuff. And I was looking at my two boys, and there's no pain. Like, I can't describe to you the pain that comes across, that you feel, the shame, the guilt, when you have to say to your 9-year-old son, like, no, I can't hop on the trampoline with you because I'm too heavy. Like, that's where I was, man. And I had just given up so much, and I was like, I don't know what else to do. So from a headspace, man, like, I was lost. I was at the bottom of this dark pit. I had a loving family. I had, a business, and, I had friends, and think like so much of my life was going well. And I think without that stuff, I really would have struggled a lot more. But in terms of my health and my own personal kind of validation around that, like, and my personal goals and everything that I wanted to do with my life, like, it was dark, man. And like, I couldn't go and hang out with friends, if there was too many steps. I couldn't, go and walk with my kids down along the Esplanade, and take them for bike rides. Like, I couldn't do those things. I was missing out on so much of my life. And hearing this conversation with my parents, I just sat there and I was like, I'm not going to have this conversation with my kids. And it was that moment, and it was in the start of 21 that I really started trying to find a solution. And I looked here and I looked there, and then one day, through the ever loving guidance of my dear wife, and where she humbled me enough, and she's like, just ask for help. And I put a post up on Facebook, and I just asked all the guys that I know up there, like the dads that are entrepreneurs and business owners. I was like, how the hell do you manage all this? Like, what's working? And a bunch of them commented, and one guy that I know, he tagged you, Trav, and he's like, hey, check out this guy and get connected with him. And then, yeah, that was kind of the whole connection point. So everything up until that point was just like, it wasn't for a lack of trying. It wasn't for just giving up. It wasn't for a lack of knowledge. It wasn't for a lack of support in other areas. It was just, dude, I just couldn't seem to get my positive momentum for my health again. I couldn't overcome that negative momentum. And it was hard, man. It was real tough. Having those conversations with my parents and having those conversations with my kids was some of the hardest things I've had to do. But I'm so goddamn grateful that I had them. Because without those motivations, without those little nudges, I wouldn't have got connected with Trav. I wouldn't have been here. I wouldn't have gone through the journey that I have. And then, obviously when we got together, Trav, it was a completely different story, from the get-go. So yeah, hopefully that kind of gives you a bit of an insight.
Mate, it does. It definitely does. I think for anyone who's listening, who is a dad, I think they can feel the vulnerability that you're also sharing, because, mate, like I've been heavier. I've been up to 120 kilos. I sit at 90 kilos quite well now. And I fluctuate within 2 kilos. That's my bandwidth I like to fluctuate within. And I know that when I got heavier, I looked at my kids and I was like, they were young enough to me not to feel like I was missing out or something. I just said, all right, my kid's born. I need to get my shit together because I don't want to ever miss out on anything. I think as you're at the stage where you're like, fuck, I am missing out on some stuff. I can be better. I just need to figure out how. I think it doesn't matter where you are on the journey, guys. You can, and we've talked about this a couple of times, CJ, like you draw a line in the sand and then like that's one decision that's followed by many other decisions, right? But there's the first initial decision of like, no, I'm going to change my life.
Yeah. And it seems I made that decision multiple times. I made that decision every time I signed up for a new gym, or I teamed up with a training partner, or I tried out this new diet or this new supplement. I mentally made that decision every time, but something hit different when I was like, it became more than just about weight. It became about health. It became about my family. It became about my kids. It became about the example that I wanted to be for them. It became about not being a burden as I age and get further into my life, that I don't become a burden onto my two sons, and making sure that that doesn't happen. And when I made that decision, it was the same decision, but it was just different. It was like through a different lens. It's kind of like you can say the same thing 1,000 times, but it's like, the 1,001st is completely different. And that's what it really felt like. And when I got there, when I first jumped on the scales, which was, I took the batteries out of my scales at home because I didn't want to see my weight. Like it got to the point I was just so done with it. I didn't wear anything, that looked halfway decent in terms of clothes. Like I just got around in exercise shirts and shorts and didn't do anything else. Like I couldn't find a pair of jeans to, get dressed up to take my wife out. Like that stuff just wasn't a reality for me for a long time. And then when I jumped on the scales, when we started working, Trav, and I was like, holy shit, 130 kilos, like that's a very large number. But then I remember thinking, well, it's a large number, so hopefully that means it can become much smaller, much quicker than what I first thought. And, having that conversation with you was like, when we first started, it was like, oh, we're just going to focus on these few simple things. And I was like, dude, is that it? Like, really? Is that all we're doing? I literally remember this, getting off that first conversation. I'm like, that can't be it. Surely not. Like, it can't be that easy. I can't have struggled for like nearly 7 years and gone through all this pain and have that be the answer. Like, there is no way. And well, I'm happy to say I was pretty wrong about that. But it was tough, man. It was tough to get to that point, but I'm really glad I did, and I'm glad that the journey, that process has built a lot of character for me now that allows me to be a better example for my kids.
Yeah, I think like when we look at this as well, anyone starting their journey, you can analyze and over research what you need to do. And I think CJ, you're probably a big proponent on that, but I think most people are, dude. Like, what's the perfect program? What's the best diet? We go through all these different ways. I should be tracking my calories, and we over analyze macros and proteins and carbs and like when I should be eating, how can I be eating? What's the best training split? What do I like? It's like, dude, like we just set your calories up and got you to walk 10,000 steps a day consistently.
like it was just that easy, but it was like, but I remember like, I said to you that first conversation, I was like, look, mate, here's what I've done in the past. And I've gone too heavy-handed, too fast, coming off I've had a shoulder reconstruction, 2 knee reconstructions, a bunch of other injuries from my time in the army. And I was like, I can't go heavy-handed at this again, where in the past I'd be like, right, I'm going to hit the gym 4 days a week and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then like I might have enough willpower to get through week 1 and 2 and 3. But by the time the end of the month rolls around, like I'm so toast. My body is sore. Everything's sore. I'm just like, oh, I just can't do it. And I just can't keep going. And it just beat me down to the point where I was like, I couldn't get over that like 1 month hurdle. But then you're like, oh, we'll just start walking a little bit more and make sure you don't eat too much.
Yeah.
I was like, what? No, surely not. Surely not. But yeah, it turns out it works, eh?
But I think, and like when we look at that, we progressively overload habits as we get healthier and healthier as well, right? And I think, progressive overload is a great terminology as far as gaining lean muscle mass in the gym, but I don't think many people do that with their health and fitness, right? They look at trying to go all or nothing. And I think that's what so many people do, rather than start small, achieve small, build momentum, and then winners win. And I think that's what you have to understand. And losers lose. So if you, and it might just sound stupid when I say that, but it's the truth, right? Like winning creates a winner's mindset. And you said at the start there, CJ, it's like, you said, I lost hope, right? Like you said that. And that's where you were. So the worst thing we could possibly do was to do something and put a plan together where you would fail in any way. Because all of a sudden you would create more self-doubt, and then more self-doubt leads to more despair. So all our goal was to let's do something so simple that you could feel like a winner again. And then as you start winning, we are going to make this harder. You go from like the minor leagues into the big leagues. Yeah. Now we're in the big leagues, CJ. We're going to win on a different level, right? And that's what we did, right? But winners win, because they all of a sudden you go from instead of that doubt, we actually start gaining hope. And then when we gain hope, we gain confidence. And when we become confident, we kind of become unstoppable. And I think everyone can become that unstoppable person if they start small.
100%, man. And I think you hit the nail on the head there, where it's like, let's just rack up one win, one little thing, and let's just start there. And I remember, like, the first time we jumped on the call, and it's like, all right, here's what we're going to set you up with, and went through things. It's like, here's your calories, here's what we want you to do, here's a couple of common pitfalls to watch out for. Like I was wearing Garmin at the time. I knew my average steps and things like that. But like at the same time, man, I was downing like a box or two of ibuprofen a week just to try and get through the week, because my feet were so sore from plantar fasciitis. Like I couldn't walk 10,000 steps when I first started. Yeah. I said to you, like, oh, my average is like 5,000 steps a day. I'm working from home. It's like, righto, like, let's just start getting you to 5,000 every day. Let's just start with that. And I was like, surely this guy's like on something. Like this cannot work. Man, I can remember talking to my wife. I'm sitting down, even like those first couple of calls that we had. And I was like, this guy must be like off his rocket or something, because it can't be this easy. It can't be this simple. I feel like I'm being, deceived, or something's going on. But it was just like little win. And then it stacked up. And then I jump on the call with you. I'm like, hey, Trav, I hit 7 days where I got 5,000 steps. And I was like,
ecstatic.
Dude, the confidence that I got from that was just mind blowing. And then I was like, well, let's see if we can get 14 days. And then can we get 21? And then it's like, hey, let's up it. Let's take it a little bit further. Let's get 5.5. And I was like, oh man, I don't know. Like that's real hard. And like the thing was like the part that I loved the most about training with you and being coached by you is that I missed from everything else that I'd tried, and all the other gyms and the trainers and the programs and this and that. It was like, I finally felt like someone listened to my situation. I finally felt like someone understood that I was a dad, I was a husband, I was a business owner, and we're in the middle of trying to figure out what the hell happens next in our lives. I've got a toddler that's in there that, isn't doing well with sleep. I've got this and I've got that. I had all, and it's like, dude, cool. We'll just work around that. And like these seemingly massive hurdles were like, cool, we'll just navigate it and we'll just do it together. And it felt like so tailored and so unique to me. But looking back on it, I go, okay, it really wasn't, but it was just the fact that I had somebody to listen and understand and provide me some support and say, hey, you're doing a good job. And hey, oh, you could have done this a little bit better, or watch out for that coming up, or go here, or try this, or do that. And literally have someone coach me through the process. That made such a massive difference, man. And it was like, that alone and with someone makes a huge difference.
And I think in saying that, when any dad listening out there, it's very rarely that you're a 130 kilo dad and all your friends have abs and are running marathons, right? So when you're looking for guidance and support from your friends, when you're trying to change your life, majority of the time is those closest people to you also probably need to change their life as well. And they can't give you that guidance or support or help you navigate it. So sometimes what we need to look at is proximity, accountability, and focus are the three key things to changing your life. So if you have proximity to someone who has done what you want to do, you have accountability from them as well. Not only just accountability to yourself, but you have accountability to them. And if they can refocus you every single week, what's the next and most important thing? What's the next most important thing? Like those three things coupled together isn't something you can get from your overweight mate, right? It just isn't. But also, your overweight mate isn't going to tell you the truth or going to push you any harder. And then when you start losing weight, they're probably going to sabotage you. And not because not because they're not your friend, just because if they're not moving as fast as you forward, they just subconsciously start to resent your progress, and then they'll start to sabotage you 9 times out of 10. And when everyone, again, on the YouTube right now going, oh, yeah, whatever, start hating on me for saying your friends aren't helping you, in reality, they aren't. You need to find new friends. If you're 40, 50 kilos overweight, you need to find new friends who are going to support the new habits that you need to build, because you need to divorce your past, and that's the truth, right? And no one's there to tell you, no, CJ, like, you're fat, mate, like, or CJ, like, oh yeah, because they're not, right? Like, they're like, you're okay, man, you're just big boned, you've got a lot on your plate.
It's like, don't worry about it, try again, it's all good, it's all right, don't worry about it. And it's just over and over. It's just like that pleasing, that you know, not small-minded or anything, but just like that being okay in what is, and that mediocrity. It's hard to find somebody that's going to, you know, cut through what is and be like, here's what's up, man. Here's what's up. You know, and you can sometimes, you know, if you're fortunate enough, you can walk into a gym and maybe find that. But not every 20-something PT has been through that. You know, not every 20-something nutritionist understands what it's like to be a dad, or what it's like to be, you know, in this situation or that situation. So when I very much felt like when I was looking for solutions, all I found was solutions for women. Like that was the hardest part. Is like, oh, you know, eat 1,200 calories and do this and do that and go do yoga 3 times. I'm like, what the fuck?
Grab your pink 3-kilo dumbbells. And
like, and I was like, come on, where's something for my guys, you know? Like, where's something for, you know, the people they're pushing it, that want to do big things, that want to, you know, break some shit in the world. Like, where are those people at, you know? And I'm like in the business world, so I'm looking to, you know, these influential, highly successful people and learning from them constantly around the business world and what it means to, you know, be healthy and lifestyle and balance. And I'm like, dude, I can see it. It was literally like looking up through the bottom of a lake. I'm like, I can see all these guys there, but I can't figure out how to get there. And then, you know, when Trav came along and decided to slap me a couple of times and be like, wait, calm down. It's all good. You got this. And it was exactly what I needed. You know, and it was done from a place of deep, deep care and, you know, a true desire to see somebody change their life. Not because of anything else other than that. It's like, here's a human that I can help. Let me help you. You know, everyone else is mollycoddling you and telling you it's okay. Clearly that's not got you to where you want to be. So let's try a different approach. And it was, dude, so well timed. So well timed.
And I think that's a big thing, right? I think as a coach, and one, you need to have enough rapport with someone. And that's why the way we coach, that's what we really try and build with our guys, so we can effectively communicate. Because if I'm going to slap you in the face and we don't have, you know, this is metaphorically, not physically slap you. If I was close enough to you, I probably would have done it a couple of times.
Sure, a couple of times that would have happened. Would have been well deserved.
But if you're building rapport with your guys, you can and rapport in a relationship, because that's what it is. You're building quite a strong relationship with a coach to a mentor, mentee, whatever you want to call it. You can, 1, understand where they're at, 2, understand where their comfort zone is, and 3, understand when they're just talking shit. So when people are talking shit, you have to be able to call them out. And I think that's a key thing, because they don't even realize they're talking shit because they've talked shit to themselves for so long for their whole life. So you can see it, they can't see it, right? So they're justifying shit in their mind of why it's not working, why I can't do this, why this isn't for me. So you need to cut through the bullshit for them, hold that mirror up to their face. And as they start winning, you go like, okay, well, we can't just win like this anymore because that's what's going to stop us. We need to expand the comfort zone again, and we need to win on a larger scale. And I think it's understanding where someone's at and continue to expand their comfort zone for them and with them, which is what allows them to continue to strive for success. And I think we talked about in the podcast last week, Jason, or the week before, it's like not getting complacent and being inside your comfort zone and falling into that complacency trap.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that was so well captured in the style of coaching that you guys go through, and then like that I went through. Was like, let's focus on a couple of key things. Like, you got to remember, I was 130 kilos. I'm working from home. I'm a husband. I'm a father. Like, we're in the middle of this weird COVID time still. Like, it was still trying to figure out a lot of stuff. I had my eldest son who was living in Sydney, so I'm trying to manage that relationship as well and be there as a dad for him. But it's like, I had all these things against me, but then I was like, okay, let's just simplify it and let's navigate this. And okay, great. Here's what worked and here's what didn't. And here's how we made strides ahead, and here's what we can do next time. And we moved, we won a little bit, and then a little bit, and then a little bit, and a little bit. And then it's like, okay, let's add in this thing. Like, I started training like in September. I didn't step into a gym, September 21. I didn't step into a gym until like mid-January 22. So like there's a solid few months there where like we didn't even talk about training.
No, man.
It was like, dude, just keep walking, just stay on top of your food, okay? And it was just like this balance here, and we kept winning and kept winning. And like in that time, I lost 20 odd kilos, from that time. Like, it just kind of fell away. And also keep in mind, I somehow managed to navigate my wedding anniversary. We went away for a wedding. We went through my birthday, then Christmas, and then New Year's Eve. So it's like we went through all these times, and then like these celebration times where it's really easy to become gluttonous and overeat and things like that. But I finally felt like I was in control of my health and what I knew what I needed to do. There was such great education that you gave in that coaching, where it's like, hey, here's a couple of things to watch out for. Like, these little things that you really love to eat, like these little, sweet things. Yeah, well, they're super high in calories. Avoid them suckers. But like, look at, go check out some paddle pops.
I was going to say you had like a 365-day streak of paddle pops in there, I think.
Mate, I'm solid on the chocolate paddle pop. It's even to this day, like every night you cannot. It just became a thing for me. It's like, great, it was a day well lived, and it was this really weird process where even just understanding, like, I thought I was eating relatively healthy. I did, because like, we cooked, 95% of our meals at home. I didn't overeat, but it was like, I didn't realize a couple of these things that were just like super calorie dense that I was just sneaking up on me. And as soon as I started cutting them out for smart substitutions, like weight just started falling off, started walking more, pain went away. And it was just like so much positive momentum. And then, that just led to 10 months. It was 10. I was working through this with my wife the other day. It's 10 months from when I started to when I crossed that, broke that 90 kilo mark and got down to about 88. So just a tick over 40 kilos, 10 months. And it's like a kilo a week, just doing the simplest things.
But also I think, sorry, Jace.
I was going to say, I'd love to know, because everyone, when they're pursuing anything, whether it's in business or in health or whatever, they have a moment where they're like, I can do this, right? This moment where you kind of you top the crest of the hill and you're like, this is manageable for me. This is doable. I will get there. I'd love to know what that moment was for you, because I feel like a lot of people, they'll get bogged down. They'll lose 5 kilos, 10 kilos, or maybe I've lost that 5, 10 kilos before. But what was the moment for you where you were like, I can do this. This is going to be me for the rest of my life. What was that? Do you have that moment in your head?
Yeah. Because I know exactly what you're talking about, Jace. Because it's so true. Like, I was like, oh, if I could just lose 10 kilos and just start moving forward, I feel like I could maybe get there. So like that 10 kilo mark was a really big threshold for me. And it had been for a while, like, even leading up to starting coaching, whereas like, if I could just do that, and like, I had a couple of like 8 kilos, 7 kilos, a 3 kilo, a 5 kilo, like each time I tried something new. But it was really, so like once I got through 120 kilos and I was able to hold it, I was like, oh, maybe this is real. Like maybe this is really going to turn around. And then once I got through 115, I was just like, oh shit, like, okay, like what do we do now? Like, okay, what's next? And I just became addicted to the success that I was having in my health. And I was just like, there was nothing that was going to drag me off the tracks at that point. I would go out to barbecues with friends and stuff like that, and I'd rock up with my can of Pepsi Max, and we'd all be sitting around, and the guys would be having some beers and stuff like that, and I'd be having my Pepsi Max, and then like, it was at that moment, going through that kind of like end of year, start of year, Christmas, New Year's sort of time, where I was like, I got through my birthday, I got through Christmas, I didn't gain weight, I didn't blow out, like I was seeing my friends, I was able to stay in control. I was like, by the middle of January, I was like, there's nothing that's going to stop me here at this point. Like, I remember finally being brave enough to, actually take like, my next set of progress shots. So I did some right at the start, and then I was like, nah, because I still had so much doubt, and it was like, it wasn't until the start of 2022, like that whole New Year's resolution time, being a business guy, I sat down, I was like, mapped out some goals and really had a look at things, and I was like, right, I've got to take some photos here and really document this. I got this far, I've got down to, I think it was about 110, 111. I really got to make sure that I document this process, because someday someone's going to be like, how did you do it? And I want them to know that it's possible, and I want them to be able to see a different future for themselves. It was really around that kind of like 115 mark that it really solidified. It was like, this is the path forward.
Yeah, I think like as you were commenting there, and it's like, I took my Pepsi Max. So the thing, guys, that doesn't mean you can't drink, but I think what you have to look at is identity. Our behaviors create our identity, and then our identity also creates our behaviors. And once we're on track to achieve a goal, I think we can either go, you know what, for the next 12 weeks, the next 24 weeks, for the next year, whatever it is, I'm just not going to drink, right? Yeah. It doesn't serve me at the moment for what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah.
So you can cut it out and go, you know what, it's not serving me. I am all in on my goals, and I am going to achieve this. So you're acting as if, so we talk about fit dad, fat dad all the time. I'm acting as if I'm fit dad. Okay, well, fit dad, if fit dad's on a fat loss phase, then he really focuses on his nutrition. He focuses on his steps. Then he'll focus on his training. So if we look at that, if I act as if I am fit dad, then eventually I'm just going to become him, right? Like, it just is what it is. Our identity of fit dad allows us to deploy the right behaviors, and then those behaviors adopted long enough gives us the identity in actuality of fit dad. Yeah. And that's what happened with you, mate. Like, it just 100%. Is.
And like, sorry, Jace, but like, that's right. I remember talking with you, Trav, and I was like, dude, I really, coming into, so my birthday's the 22nd of December. Then there's obviously Christmas. My wife's the 18th of January. My mum's the 3rd of January. Her brother's, my wife's brother's the 15th of January. Like, there's so much that happens in that 1 month chunk for us. And I was like, I really want to be able to go and have some birthday cake for my birthday with my family. I want to be able to do these things. And I remember you said to me, Trav, you go, well, like, why don't you? And I'm like, well, mate, I'm worried about my calories. He's like, well, okay, if you think about it, like, do you want to have some cake? Like, are you okay to have some cake and not have a beer? And I'm not a huge drinker. I'm like, yeah, of course, man. I'd have cake and ice cream all day. So like, me taking my Pepsi Max wasn't because I was like trying to miss out. It was because I was being gluttonous in other areas and I was making it fit, like I was just making it work. It was because I wanted to make sure that I could, hook into that cob loaf that, our friend brings along. And like, I wanted to have those things, but I was happy to give up some other areas. And I balanced this identity of this fit dad and fat dad. And we spoke about that a lot too, Travis, is like, I made that conscious decision. I was like, okay, well, fat dad would have both. fit that's happy to, still have a life and enjoy
Yeah.
things, but keep walking towards the goals and keep making progress. Let's go with that guy. It seems like the right idea to go with right now.
I like that conscious choice that you spoke about, and I think that's where Trav's talking about as well, with the whole 24 weeks of give up the drinking, because a lot of people will just drink by default, right? It's like, oh, I'm at the barbie, so I'm going to have a couple beers. It's just what happens. Whereas you take that 24 weeks and you cut it out, then you can introduce it again, but you introduce it intentionally, and you introduce it with a purpose, and you're like, I'm like, I do this myself when I drink. I don't drink willy-nilly, right? I had my 30th, I think it was the other week. I don't know. I'm in my 30s now. I don't know where time goes.
Jeez, he's been here for a couple of weeks and he's already like, oh my God, look at me.
I'm already mid-30s. But I was like, I knew I was going to have, I was like, I'm going to intentionally have some wine. We've got this Danny Rick Shuey decanter thing. I was like, I'm going to have some wine. I'm intentionally going to do it. But if there's no reason for me to do it, I don't intentionally choose it, I'm not going to do it. And I think most people are stuck in that cycle of I'm going to have the chocolate because we always order chocolate and it's just kind of there and I'm going to eat it, or I'm going to have the chips because we have the chips for the kids and I'm going to order it and I'm going to eat it because it's there. I'm going to drink just because, oh yeah, that's what we do. We've got the 6-pack. I might as well crack a beer. Whereas you've got to kind of go cold turkey on it sometimes when you're that kind of person, and then you can reintroduce it like bit by bit by bit. And as you were doing, right, like I'm taking something out so I can add little bits of the things that I enjoy back in. And that's that balance that most people really struggle to find.
And I think
that choice needs to be a conscious one. I wouldn't have got to that place on my own. It was only through the coaching with Travis. It was like, dude, put the beers in the bottom of the fridge in the crisp bar where they're harder to see so you don't feel tempted.
They freeze.
Like do this, do that. Don't buy, me. I was a sucker for connoisseur cookies and cream, ice cream. I was a sucker for it, man. Mate, I would like pound down a liter of that in far too short a time span. But like that was my thing. It's like, well, don't buy it. Get a pack of paddle pops. Hey, try these So it was like it became these simple switches, and it was through that coaching with Travis that I was able to design my environment to make my decisions easier. Right now, it's, we're recording this on a Thursday. On Saturday is my 4-year-old's birthday party, and we're going to hang out and do birthday party stuff. And there's 2 cakes in the fridge. But now, like, I've spoken to my wife. I'm like, hey, we need to really design things so that it's easier for me and it's easier for you to get through. So we wrap the cakes up in 4 layers of Glad wrap. That's a simple enough thing for me to go, oh, it's too hard. I'm not going to worry about it.
I'm not rewrapping that piece of shit again.
And it still gets. I still need to be conscious of it now. It doesn't I got better at it and I become much more aware of it. But I because of these little things that I've learned, I can now feel like I'm finally in control of my health. I can walk past a Macca's and smell their chips or whatever and be okay to just be like, oh no, it's all good. I'll get something later. I can, know that we're going to go to breakfast and have a family breakfast and eat something, but know that I'm going to be able to control that. Where I lack that control of around food and drink and stuff like that. And I had to learn that. And it took, a good kind of like 12 to 16 weeks to really, have it on lockdown and finally feel like I owned it and whatnot. But it was each week when I got on the call with Travis, it was like, oh, here's this other little thing that you can learn. Here's this other little thing that you can learn. And it just became addictive for me to get on this call. I was like, great, what else can I do? What else can I do? And it just became, hyper vigilant around it. And man, there's no better feeling than being able to look in the mirror and go like, oh shit, this is working. Like, should keep doing this. And it just, once you gain that positive momentum and you learn how to stay in that positive momentum space, like you just want to control that and just keep moving forward. And that's all I've done. Like 40 kilos is a monumental amount of weight. Like I lost 1/3 of my body weight, but it was only because I gained that positive momentum moving towards my goals. And I just did exactly what Travis said around, these little changes. I designed my environment. I made sure that I was on point. I didn't slip. And if I did slip, I coughed up and I was like, yep, I screwed up, And I had a couple of times where I missed some things, and I went over and I gained some weight and I dropped some weight, and I went, it wasn't a constant downward trajectory. There'd be some weeks in there, it was like, I have two bad days out of a week, and all of a sudden everything can be turned upside down. But I realized that it was only through this constant monitoring and checking in, this self-analysis of myself, the self-analysis, that I was doing when I was having the conversation with Travis, and then Travis looking in on, my stats that I was tracking via the app. Like that was, those points just made me aware of what was happening that I don't think I could have got anywhere else. But yeah, it's been a blast.
And I think, like, with this, guys, what you have to understand, anyone listening in, everyone's going to hit plateaus. Like CJ hit plateaus, and I was like, just trust the process, and we'll just implement a new tool. He'll get frustrated sometimes. Everyone does, because patience is the biggest thing that people need to adopt in a transformation process. Patience is the biggest thing that people don't have in life, right? We want to win the lotto to get rich. It's like, no, just work really fucking hard for the next decade and you'll get rich. It's like, we want to buy a 21-day keto or fat loss blaster ab pack that rubs your fucking abs the right way. It's like, guys, stop looking for the quick fix, have some patience, and just be consistent with life. And then results will come with long-term consistency. But long-term consistency comes with, again, proximity, accountability, and focus. And just like refocusing people. And yes, you're going to hit plateaus, but CJ, like, we've had, as we came down, we cut some calories, we increased some steps, we did some fasting days, we increased training. We did so much stuff to implement the tools at the right time. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, if I had told you the first couple of days you're going to start doing a fasting process, you'd be like, fuck this. And you would have, exactly, right? But when you have to look at this as someone's going through a process and you've helped them achieve a certain result, the trust builds in the relationship as a coach. And then they're like, well, he hasn't steered me wrong so far. So fuck, okay, let's go and be hungry for a day. And then that works. And it kicked us through that next plateau. And it kicked us through the next plateau. And all of a sudden you start winning. You're like, fuck, man, like what this guy tells me, it's working all the time. So I just got to keep trusting what he tells me because I keep getting better. And that's literally what happened, right?
Oh, man, 100%. And, like, it was just, oh, okay, I'll do that. And, like, particularly the fasting was something that I really struggled with, man. I don't know if you remembered, but I was, oh, man, that was tough. But, like, it wasn't that bad. Like, once I understood how to navigate it, when I first went into it was like, and you're like, all right, I just don't want you to eat for a day. And I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, just have dinner and you'll be all good. I'm like, yeah, but mate, no. And he's like, no, it's fine. And I'm like, oh, right, we'll try it. And I tried it, and like, first week, bomb. Second week, bomb. Third week, he's like, oh, well, okay, this clearly isn't working. And we spoke through a few things, and like, oh, we'll try this. And like, I just realized that it was, I really like to make sure that I was having some flavor in my life. So I was, rather than just drinking water and whatnot, like I added in some coffee, and then I added in some, zero sugar cordial and some this and this and that. And then I was like, oh, this became real easy. And now I'm like, oh, you know what? Like I had a bit of a blowout on the weekend. I'll just do a fast on Monday. It's all good. And I can do it like that now because I've trusted Travis enough, and he's steered me right enough times that I can know that I can do it on my own now at will if I need to. And it's like, so it's every time we went through this, it was like another tool that got added to my toolkit, not just in the coaching side of things, but like the process, like, oh, great, I can do that. Oh, I can do this. Oh, I can do that. And now it's just got this bag of tools and these tricks and tips that I can pull out at any time. And that's why I think it just continues to get easier for me, because it's like, oh, we just do this one or whatever. So yeah, I remember that fasting. That was a tough one, but it was good. It was good.
And when we were doing it, was it January or was it February that you decided to run the 10 kilometers? When did you decide to run the 10Ks, or was it March?
So it was, I decided to run at the end. I saw the ad and signed up at the end of February, I think it was.
Yep. So end of Feb, like we were just getting past the 10K a day consistently in January, like we were getting that. Yeah. And then the next month later, he's like, oh, I'm going to run 10 kilometers. I was like, yeah, well, well, he's like, oh, one, you were, should I? And I was like, yeah, let's fucking smash it. And I think, but I think, and I was like, if you sign up, I'll fly. I'll fly with you and I'll do it. And then you're like, oh, fuck, okay.
So this is going to happen?
I was like, because, dude, if I fly up to you, we ain't not doing this 10K. And it became serious, right? And then we focused on getting the running in, and that, had its own little issues here and there with getting the momentum with that. But and they're like, oh, maybe you did a run, I think, at the start of July. I think it was like 65 minutes, I think it was.
Yeah.
For your 10Ks, because we did a trial run.
Yeah. I think it was mid-July around then.
Yeah.
Like, keep in mind, I hadn't run, the first kilometer I ran, or the first time I ran since my second knee surgery, was January 2022. And it was like January 30th. And I was like, I just wonder if I can do this. And I was at the gym. I hopped on a treadmill. I think I ran like 700 meters. And I was like, okay, that kind of hurts. Like, we'll leave that be, and went about. Like, that was it. And then I signed up, and then I was like, okay. And we were focusing on training and getting stronger in the gym and lifting weights. And it wasn't really until kind of towards the end of April, there was like, right, let's start getting some kilometers into the legs. And then July, I did that 10K in like 65, 68 minutes. And I was like, I was blown away. I was like, that may as well have been a friggin' running across the world to me. Like, that's how far away from that I was, or I thought I was. And it wasn't until I started kind of doing a little bit. And yeah, like, I pulled up a bit sore, but it was like I'd been to a workout, not like I'd been, put through a meat grinder, which is what it felt like, when I was heavy. Yeah. And that was the difference. And I was like, damn, this could be some fun. And, I wonder if we can get it under an hour. Like, wouldn't that be crazy? Like, and it was just this whole, but what if? And this what if mentality, like, just seeped into my life, and just like, but what if I could do more? What if I could go further? What if I could, go faster? What if I could? And it just seeped in and just took over, and it was wild. That was fun, man. That was good fun in August.
But I was like, yep, now we're going to go for 50 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're like what?
Right.
And we flew up there, and it was the first time we met face to face. And we ran it in like, you beat me by 2 seconds because I let you, clearly. But
mate, I don't care whether you let me or not. I won that, all right? Like, I got there.
But we did it in 50 minutes and like 7 seconds or something like that, which is good. And, I thought it was hot as hell because I'm living in Tasmania. You thought it was cold as hell because you're living in Townsville. Yeah. But we smashed it, right? I think that was, again, a pivotal moment because you were like, okay, this is something that I thought was impossible, and I just did it. So as you go through your coaching journey, all of a sudden the impossible becomes possible, and then you go, well, what else can I do if I can do this?
Yeah.
And then we increased the training. You did I think you did a half marathon. Then we were talking randomly about the Spartan race.
Yeah.
That was not just a normal Spartan race. It was a Spartan Ultra that was like 51 Ks, I thought, but then it became 56 when we got there. They lied to us. But we're like, but we only decided 6 weeks out. Now, I hadn't run a marathon since I was like 22. And I'm older than Jace. My 30s got lost a while ago. So, with 6 weeks out, it was like, let's do this. And me, you, and two of the other boys in the coaching were like, okay, we'll do it all together. And we all flew to Melbourne. And, I'm very much of a lax person with the preparation that I do about things. CJ was like, fuck, I've got to really focus on this. I was like, nah, bro, you'll be right. You'll be okay. I have belief in you. And I think I had such a belief in you that allowed you to believe in you, I think, on the process and on the journey. I think that belief in you and in yourself has grown more and more. Your outlook on just the way you communicate on life has become bigger and brighter. I would say brighter. You were gray and now there's color. To talk about your life. You were living in a gray world and now you're living in a fucking, rainbow. But I think for yourself, we signed up, we did this. All of a sudden, we ran a 56-kilometer Spartan ultra race in February this year, whenever that was. And then you're like, okay, well, I've done that now. What else can I do?
Yeah.
And then you ran like, did you do 60 Ks? What was your biggest run?
Yeah, that was 60 was my biggest. That was November last year.
Yeah, so it's like, dude, it's nonstop. And then I'll briefly talk about what your next goal is towards the end. So I won't go into that now. But I think, like, for anyone who is out there listening, if you're 130 kilos, within like 14 months, you can lose 40 kilos and run and do a Spartan Ultra. Which is 56 kilometers over 50 obstacles where you're climbing over shit and like rolling in shit basically as well. It was dude,
it was so good.
It was, you finish it and you're like, and I had a fractured foot that I did it with you that day. And I was like limping through this whole thing. I was like, nope, if I don't do it, I can't be that person. So I did it with you guys and we hopped in the car at the end of the day. And because I was limped there and I limped through the course and I limped leaving. I just remember sitting in the car. And I was like, I'm done. And as we were driving, one of the other boys was driving. I was like, I need you to pull over, man. I think I'm going to pass out. And this was like a couple of hours after I felt. And I was like, I just started vomiting out the side of the car. I was like, I think you know that you push yourself to a limit when a couple of hours after it, your body just starts shutting down. I was like vomiting out the side of the car in fucking butt fuck nowhere.
No phone reception.
No phone reception. No nothing. And I was like, I just want to go to bed because it was like a 12-hour race on a broken foot. But it's like, hey, you do it. And you guys like absolutely hammered it. But I think for yourself, it's like, the belief in yourself and what you believe is possible again is so much bigger than what, like, your goal was to walk 10,000 steps. Then you ran 56-kilometer Spartan Ultra. Like it's night and day, black and white. Like there is no correlation between the two.
No. And they're worlds apart. They're separated by dimensions of reality. And that's what it feels like. I entered a new dimension where it was a new reality for me and a new thing was possible. And I did that time and time and time again. To do the 10K, that was huge. To do it, like to complete it on my own just as a trial run before we went down and did the race, that was massive. And I was like, okay, like let's go. Like let's see if we can get it under, 60 minutes. And then I was like, if we, 50's a goal, 60's really what we're going for. And it was really this kind of bracketing system that we developed. It was like, okay, we set a really crazy stretch goal and we go for that. But if we get this, we're also going to be super stoked with our success. And it was this whole thing that we did through this coaching process. And in that same time, like I was talking to my friends that were on the Sunshine Coast where we did the 10K run. I was like, hey, I'm coming down, like come along. And I started talking with my friends and the people that I cared about. And one of my best buddies, he lives on the Sunshine Coast. I was like, dude, don't you quit on me now. Like, don't you quit. And he's 10, 12 years older than me. He's had back surgery and he's gone through his whole own weight loss journey as well, in kind of like the 5 years previous. And I was like, just come along, man. If you walk it, that's the worst case scenario. If it takes you 5 hours, who cares? You did it. It's still an achievement. And he comes out there and like he and I catch up for coffee the day before. We haven't seen each other for, 12, 18 months. And like, here I am 40 kilos lighter. And he's like, holy shit, who is this person? And it was just that gray, that drabness, as you said, Travis, was gone. And I was like, let's go, let's get it done. And he comes out there. We did it in 50 minutes. He comes out there and he blasts through it in like an hour 35, hour 40. And here's a guy who hasn't run since he last walked on a footy field, in his early teens sort of thing. Like he did zero preparation and he's like, okay, like, let's go. And then, I had another friend who did the 5K and another friend who did this. And then all of a sudden, like before we leave that weekend, he's going, okay, like let's do the 10K again next year. So he's coming again this year. He wants to try and beat his time. I've got another friend, she did the 5K and she's like, okay, let's go and step it up to the 10K. Another friend doing the same thing. So it's like all of a sudden I started to I started to lead the friends and people that I cared about to show what was reality. The best part about that whole weekend was running the 50-minute 10Ks with you was great. Turning around and running 2Ks with my then 10-year-old son, dude, it was life-changing. It was to run with him for 2 kilometers, to cheer him on and go, you can do this, was something that I didn't conceive to be anything close to possible. And then it was like, wow, I just did these 2 major feats back to back. Like there was literally like half an hour difference between when we finished the race and when he started his. And then like I went on to go and do the 2K with him, and then it was great. And now it's like I've got these people that are coming to the party where they want to step up and better themselves because they think it's now possible because of what I did. And I was like, that belief only came from Travis, and like that belief that you put into me that then I slowly built in myself, I've now passed on to my kids and to those that I love. And mate, we go back in August to do the Sunshine Coast Running Festival. I'm doing the full marathon. My wife's doing the 5K. My now 11-year-old's doing the 5K. His mum, she's signed up for the 5K. I didn't let her get out of it scot-free. We've got my buddy doing the 10K. He's trying to break a PB. We've got it becomes different. It becomes like these dimensions opened up, man. And it was so different. Yeah. And then like completing that and then coming back, and I was like, this what if mentality that you instilled in me just started to really grow and blossom, because I achieved these big things. I was like, okay, what if I could run a half marathon? So one day, 2 weeks later, I just packed up and I went and ran a half marathon. I took no water. I got swooped by magpies and I lost my sunnies but I ran a goddamn half marathon. I was like, holy shit, like that's crazy. And then I was like, man, I wonder if I could do a marathon. No, that's way too hard. I could never do it. And this is literally what I'm saying to myself. I could never do a full marathon. And then I saw an ad to run 60 Ks for a charity last November. And I was like, all right, well, like, what's the worst case scenario? I just run around home. Like, it doesn't cost me anything. Like, let's see if we can raise a bit of money. And then all of a sudden it becomes way bigger deal than what I thought. And I've got people cheering me on and money's pouring in from friends and family. They're donating to this cause that we're raising money for. And it's 3:00 in the morning. It's November in Townsville. And it's like, I started and it was 25 degrees, at 3:00 in the morning. I started running and like, it's pitch black. And it's like, it became ridiculous where it went to. And then it's like, oh, well, I got through that. And, that was fucking hard. That was super hard. And then like, in January, it's like, oi. It was like 4 guys sitting around at a pub. Yeah. Like, oi, we should go to Spartan. No, yeah, come on. You won't. You're scared. Oh, yeah, right. It's exactly how it went down. And then we went and did that. And like, mate, how you made it through on a broken foot is beyond me. I was in the hurt locker and like, I was just like, okay, I got to give it everything I got. And, then you got through and I was like, oh my God. I remember us walking into that, here we are, we've just done a 12-hour race. We walk into this Macca's. My feet were so swollen. I couldn't put my shoes back on. Like, but the thing is, like, people ask me, why did you do that, CJ? And I said, well, I wanted to see if I could. Yeah. And now that's different for everybody. Yeah. Like, and since this time going through this process, my friend just went down to the Gold Coast Spartan in May, and he's 45 to 55 age group, and he raced in the 5K. That was a crazy thing for him, 5K or 10K. That was a crazy thing for him. I'm like, mate, I cheered him on, really getting behind him. And I was like, you can do it. He came out really great time. And he's now been invited by Spartan to go and represent Australia at the World OCR Championships. Wow. Like, he's a guy he's a vet. He's a dorky dude who's just like started going to the gym and just decided to ask, what if? And there's all these people in my life now that are asking this question that are like, what if we do this? What if we can? What if we go that little bit further? What if we go that little bit faster? and it's just become so
I think
beautiful to see.
I think when someone that we know smashes through the glass ceiling, because at the end of the day, it's just a glass ceiling that we've created for ourselves, other people look up and realize that they've just manufactured the limitations based on the reality that they've told themselves.
Yeah.
And then they see someone else break through it and they're like, well, if he can do it, I can do it too. And not everyone thinks that. Like some people think, fuck you. But there's a lot of people who are close to you go, well, I know CJ, and if he can do it and he can change his life, maybe I can. And all it takes is that one little moment. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking. It's just that one little, if he can do it, I can do it too. And I remember finishing that 10K with you, dude. And I had lunch with you before I flew back because I flew in on the Saturday night and drove down, ran the 10Ks, drove straight back to the airport and flew back to Tassie. And I was having lunch and your mum came up to me and she said, like, this, to quote, she said, thanks for bringing CJ back to me. Because for a while there you were lost as far as the CJ that she knew. And she said, thanks for bringing CJ back to me. I think for anyone out there, like your family loves you so much. Whether you think they do or don't, like they fucking do. If you've got kids and you love them no matter what, trust me, your parents love you no matter what. Yeah. Like you might not think it, but they fucking do. And if you're going through a hard time, they know you are, but they can't change it for you. You have to save yourself, sometimes with some help. But when you do save yourself, there's I'm fucking about to choke up as well because I would think about my kids, right? There's a sigh of relief that would come over a parent when they're like, my son found his way back to the one that I knew and to the potential that he could. And I think everyone out there, finding your way back is for you, but also on the process of finding your way back to your best version of you, you give hope, confidence, courage, relief, all these other emotions to all the people out there that love you. That is so much more than weight loss, because it's not about the weight loss. It's about believing in yourself again at the end of the day. And that's what it's all about. It's like, okay. And because you believed in yourself, you stuck to something. Because you stuck to something, you got the result. But because you believe in yourself, other things are possible as well. How has your life changed from losing the weight and getting that confidence back as the last couple of questions, mate?
Dude, so much. Like my business has exploded. I was able to grow my business so much more. I was, just on our call last week, I was talking to you about, I found one of my old journals from 2019. And I was like, oh, I'd love to achieve just this. Like, if I could do this, it'd be monumental. I'm like, mate, I'm like 10x plus, 20x past that, like where it's crazy how much like that business world has changed for me. My friendships and my connections are deeper and more meaningful. There's been people that, I was connected with that I think they've been a little bit rattled by my journey and my process because it's held up a mirror to them and they haven't really liked what they've seen. So they've pulled back a little bit, and that happens. I can't change that for them. I can only be there to support them and help them when they go through that. But in the process of that also, I've found so many incredible people that have kind of like come out, to be a support and become a deeper friend. And, I'm much, much closer with my wife. My now 4-year-old, he and I are like best buds. And, my 11-year-old now he moved from Sydney to Townsville to come be closer. He's like, Dad, I want to be closer because I want to go and be a professional basketball player, and I want you to train me. Mate, I have no idea about basketball.
No, but I'm going to stop you right there, right, for a second. The CJ that you were, past tense, the CJ that you are, do you believe the CJ that you were, your son would have said that to you?
Not a chance. Not a chance. He had the opportunity to. I asked him. He said, I'd like to do it one day if and maybe. He sat there and he contemplated that. But it wasn't until I lost 40 kilos of weight, but I left behind so much doubt and so much fear and shame and guilt, like all this negative stuff along the way. But I gained so much self-love, so much self-care, so much more empathy towards my kids and my wife, the relationships that I have now. Dude, I've always been a bit of a cynical guy. I thought it was really weird when people just like say hello to other people at the shops. But like, I realized in this process that like everyone's going through some sort of pain, whatever it is. And if I can make someone's day a little bit better by saying hi, like it just means that. But I couldn't have done that in the old person that I was, that old version of CJ. There wasn't a possibility of that. I didn't have the capacity for that. So much, every single part of my life has changed. Every single part of it has changed for the better. There is not one area of my life that my weight loss journey has not touched. And everywhere that it has touched, it has been a positive transformation.
Awesome. And the last one, mate, tell us, you posted up, and we've talked about this a bit, your goal in November. So tell everyone what your new goal is for November. I'll let you tell everyone.
Oh man, this is terrifying to actually say it out loud still. So in this process, I'm an Army veteran. I'm a big believer that men's mental health gets overlooked. I struggled a lot with it myself, and I think it played a large part in leading me to where I was. And finally, I was able to turn that corner. A huge part of that was through the coaching that I did with Trav and you guys. It was just absolutely invaluable. But now it's a time for me to serve and give back. And this goal coming up in November is I'm going to run 60 kilometers a day for 30 days the entire month of November in the efforts to raise $100,000 for Movember, the charity, the organization Movember, and try and ignite conversations between 100,000 people around men's mental health. And that is a very, very scary sentence to say out loud and put out there publicly, but it's what if we can?
Exactly. I think Jace tried to run 3.8Ks the other weekend and nearly died.
I managed the 5K. It was I got the full 5, and I was like, I might do this once every 2 weeks, get my cardio up.
Parker, I'm not for you, mate.
No, but then he decided on the Mondays, like, Jesus, I'm going to just start adding a bit more cardio into my program because, I feel like if some guy tries to hit on my girl as she grows up, I need to be able to chase him down.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually more concerned about Trav finding a fucking Spartan race here in Perth. And I'm flying over, mate. We're doing it. I want to be prepared.
Pretty sure
a hammer to my foot.
We were talking about Iron Man in December there at some point.
Yeah,
sure.
That's it. I know, but there's we were, but unfortunately it is the same weekend as a ultra marathon that my wife wants to do down in Tasmania. And I'm going to have to do that with my wife because if she wants to do something great, I'm there for her. Yeah, exactly. But I'm going to run the 60 kilometers doing that. It's all right. But in saying that, mate, it's been a pleasure to have you on here. The 60Ks for 30 days straight and running 1,800 kilometers in the month of November is going to be an insane journey, one that will help you, support you with, and I'll definitely be seeing you face to face for it some part of your 30 days. I think for anyone who's listened today, I think what we need to take away from this is it doesn't matter where you are mentally. It doesn't matter where you are physically. Stop comparing yourself to anyone else's journey and understand it's your journey. And I don't care where your starting point is. All you need to do is take one step forward. It doesn't have to be a fucking leap, a jump. You're not playing fucking long jump. It's just a step. And every step you take is leading you down towards your best self. It doesn't mean you'll fall some days, but you can stand back up. And then you can take another step. And the smaller the steps, they'll start to grow into bigger steps. And then they'll start to go into bigger ones. And all of a sudden, you'll be running fucking 60Ks a day, right? You will. Because the belief inside yourself will grow. And you don't know what everyone has to run, by the way, who comes onto our coaching.
Yeah.
But the belief in yourself will grow so large that your internal dialogue will change from I can't to what if. And I think that is the biggest thing. I can't do that. I could never do that to what if? What could happen? Who could I change their life by doing this? And I think that shift in internal dialogue just highlights a change in the mentality that putting some discipline, consistency with coaching, focus, and accountability, how that can draw you into a parallel universe to whatever you believe was possible. Like your only limitations are yourself. And as coaches, it's our job to make sure that you stop holding yourself back. And I think that's the biggest thing that we can do as coaches. For us, mate, it's been great to help you achieve this so far and continue to help you achieve all your goals with the coaching process. If anyone is out there and they do want to get some coaching, CJ, what would you say to someone who does want to do some coaching, or they're on the fence or they're not sure?
It seems super cliche, but like just do it. The worst. What you've done to get to wherever you are right now clearly hasn't gotten you the results that you've gotten. I cannot advocate for Trav and Jace and the whole Fit Dad Club enough, because I felt like I tried everything. I invested tens of thousands of dollars. I tried well over a dozen different programs, different trainers, and this and that and everything else. I felt like I went through it short of, literally going under the knife. Like I did everything that you could possibly could. And nothing worked for me until I sat there and I was like, maybe I need some help. Maybe I need someone that can just steer me in the right direction. Maybe I need someone that can just, hold me accountable, keep me focused and let me go through the process. And that's exactly what you did, Travis, for me. And that process started. Remembering my first goal wasn't crazy. My first goal was to see if I could get 5,000 steps a day for 7 days straight. Like the world from where I was to where I am now is monumentally different. But wherever you are to wherever you want to go, that same transformation can happen. So I cannot advocate enough. Please, go and hit up Trav, go and hit up Jace and get on the program and just try it, because if you do what they say, if you go through the process and you trust the process, you will get the results. You got to trust the process and you got to go through it and you got to do the work. Yeah, but you get the results. I still hop on a call every week with Travis. I have never missed a coaching call with him. He's like, dude, it's Christmas. It's going to fall on Christmas Day. We're going to have to move next week's call. I'm like, oh, okay. I had times, mate, like it just became religious for me, like around, because I knew that if I missed that, like it became such a pinnacle for me around my week. And I cannot thank you enough, man, for the support, the encouragement, the belief, the not holding me back and constantly encouraging me to do crazier and crazier things. And it's been truly amazing. So just go and try. You got nothing to lose. And I would be blown away if you do everything that they say to do and you don't get results. I'll figure out how to do a headstand and I'll film that for you.
So go guys, go to fit-dad.club if you want to have a chat to talk about where you are and where you want to be and how we can help you close the gap. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment, let us know what you want to talk about, or if you want to talk about anything, or tell me how I'm going bald again. I don't really care. Also, you can say CJ, he's got a bit of a receding hairline as well. I'll tell you CJ, he's on here today. Not youthful Jace. Don't tell you got those locks.
I'm going to have this hairline until I'm 80 if my dad's anything to go by. So I'll take my privilege and I'll keep it.
And guys, if you're listening to us on a Spotify, a podcast somewhere, give us a fucking rating and leave a comment as well, because we say it every week, and it just takes you a little scroll of a finger to do 5 stars, or it can scroll left, I guess it is, and probably 1 star. But leave us a 5-star, 1 star, 3 star. All of them helps the algorithm, guys. I actually don't care. So give us a comment and a star, and that is it for another day. Thanks, CJ. Thanks, Jace. It's been awesome today.
Cheers, guys. Thanks so much.